trying to behave in ways that would reflect well on humanity if we are indeed being observed. They're not waiting for official confirmation of alien contact. They're living as if that contact is already happening, just in ways we're too primitive to fully recognize. This shift in consciousness is creating new forms of human behavior and social organization. Research groups are forming to study potential alien artifacts with scientific rigor rather than sensationalism. International organizations are quietly developing protocols for potential contact scenarios. Even some governments are beginning to take the possibility seriously, though most of their preparations remain classified. The secrecy surrounding official responses to 3i
What kind of trouble Shocker's into this time?
Too many people have access to the observational data. Too many scientists are reaching similar conclusions. And too many implications are becoming apparent to the story to remain confined to academic journals and classified briefings. The truth, whatever it turns out to be, is going to emerge whether institutions are ready for it or not. This inevitability is creating its own pressures within government and scientific establishments. Officials who have been dismissing the alien hypothesis are quietly beginning to hedge their positions, developing contingency plans for scenarios they publicly insist are impossible. The cognitive dissonance is becoming increasingly apparent to anyone paying attention to the subtle shifts in language and policy.
Yeah,
3i Atlas continues its relentless approach, indifferent to human politics and psychology. The object is now writing smaller telescopes, allowing independent researchers around the world to conduct their own observations. This democratization of the data is making it increasingly difficult for any single institution to control the narrative or suppress inconvenient findings.
Una lección, Jairo, una puta lección.
Spectroscopic analysis on social media. University students are writing papers that challenge official explanation. Citizen scientists are crowdsourcing observation campaigns that rival professional efforts. The story is becoming too big and too distributed for traditional gatekeeping mechanisms to contain. This grassroots scientific movement represents something unprecedented in human history.
Well, stop wondering. After losing my parents and Uncle Ben, so many times I would have fallen apart.
Or established scientific institutions. They can see the data themselves, analyze it using freely available software, and reach their own conclusions about what it means. The implications for human knowledge and social organization are staggering. We might be witnessing the birth of truly democratic science, where discoveries are made and validated by distributed communities rather than hierarchical institutions. This could represent a fundamental shift in how humanity processes information and makes decisions about cosmic scale questions. But it also creates a new vulnerability. Distributed analysis is more difficult to
Love you too.
Inconvenient truths also makes it easier for false narratives to spread and gain credibility. The challenge becomes distinguishing an elaborate conspiracy theory between careful analysis and wishful thinking. In a world where anyone can access telescopic data and spectroscopic analysis software, how do you maintain standards of evidence and logical reasoning? How do you separate signal from noise when the noise...
El Oxxo donde puedes tener un avistamiento del tercer tipo. Aquí puedes echarte unos snacks con seres de otro...
Everything from religious fervor to science fiction fantasy. These questions are becoming increasingly urgent as 3i Atlas approaches its moment of truth. The object will reach perihelion in just a few weeks, providing the most critical test of the artificial origin hypothesis. But the observations during that period will need to be interpreted by a human community that's increasingly polarized between those who see aliens everywhere and those who refuse to see them anywhere. The polarization isn't just academic anymore. It's beginning to influence everything from investment decisions to international relations. Some nations are quietly increasing their space-based surveillance capabilities, ostensibly for asteroid defense, but potentially for monitoring alien activity. Others are accelerating their development of advanced propulsion technologies, possibly in anticipation of needing to defend against or communicate with non-human intelligence.
Those guys
The economic
breaking in
implications are
don't
becoming
live
equally
here.
significant. Industries related to space technology, advanced materials, and artificial intelligence are experiencing unprecedented investment and growth, driven partly by commercial opportunities, but also by the possibility that human technology might need rapid advancement to remain relevant in a universe populated by superior intelligence. This economic activity is creating its own feedback loops. As more resources flow into advanced technology development, the pace of human technological progress accelerates, potentially bringing us closer to the kind of future that is either more interesting or more threatening to advanced civilizations. We might be inadvertently triggering the very scenario we're trying to prepare for.
Hi,
The
Herman.
acceleration of technological development is also creating new forms of inequality and social tension. Those with access to advanced technology and the resources to develop them are pulling further ahead of those without such access. The possibility of alien contact is exacerbating this division between technology and economics, creating new forms of class conflict based on access to potential culture. Social dynamics might itself be significant to alien observers. How a species handles internal inequality during periods of rapid technological change can provide crucial data about social stability and long-term viability. A civilization that allows technological advancement to destroy social cohesion might not be worth preserving or contacting. The pressure to demonstrate social maturity while simultaneously preparing for potential existential challenges is creating unprecedented stress on human institutions. Governments are trying to balance transparency with security, international cooperation with national interests, public education with social stability. The traditional mechanisms for managing social change are being stretched to their breaking point. Religious institutions face particular challenges as they try to integrate the possibility of non-human intelligence into theological frameworks developed when humans believe they were unique to the universe. Some are adapting more successfully than others, developing new interpretations of creation and divine purpose that accommodate alien intelligence. Others are retreating into fundamentalist positions that reject the evidence entirely. The philosophical implications are equally profound. If intelligence is common in the universe, what does that say about the nature of consciousness, free will, and moral responsibility? If advanced civilizations are monitoring human development, are we truly free to make our own choices? Or are we living within the constraints imposed by superior intelligence? Do our decisions matter if they're being influenced or stimulated by minds we can't even detect? These questions don't have easy answers, but they're becoming increasingly urgent as the evidence for alien presence accumulates. We're being forced to grapple with concepts that challenge our most basic assumptions about reality, causation, and human agents. The psychological impact is only beginning to be understood. Mental health professionals are reporting increasing numbers of patients struggling with what they're calling cosmic anxiety disorder, a condition characterized by obsessive worry about humanity's place in the universe, and fear of alien contact or judgment. The symptoms range from mild unease to debilitating paranoia, and traditional therapeutic approaches are proving inadequate for addressing fears that might actually be rational responses to genuine threats. The medical community is scrambling to develop new treatment protocols that patients never expected to encounter.
Una lección,
How do you
Jairo,
treat
una
anxiety
puta
about alien
lección.
surveillance when that surveillance might actually be occurring? How do you distinguish between realistic concern and pathological worry when the stakes involve potential species?
Tell me who it
These
is
clinical
now.
challenges are compounded by the
Or
fact
make me
that the
punch
professionals
it out
treating
of
these
you
conditions are
later.
often information.
Una lección, Jairo, una puta lección.
The therapist has greater insight into the abilities of the patient becomes problematic when both parties are grappling with psychological challenge. The education How do you prepare students for a future that
Una
might
lección,
include
Jairo, una
human
puta
intelligence as
lección.
a routine part of reality? What skills and knowledge will be relevant to the universe where human capabilities might be dwarfed by alien technology? How do you maintain motivation for learning and dreams? Do you expect that everything at all might be rendered obsolete by contact with superior intelligence? Some educational institutions incorporate technological abilities into their curriculum, teaching students about intelligence, technology, and civilization,
You know what, Herman?
rather than purely terrestrial
You have
terms.
like zero
Others are
personality,
resisting changes,
but your
arguing that
suit
such
is
speculation is
awesome.
premature
Can we
and
talk
potentially
design
harmful to student
details?
development. The debate over education reflects broader tensions within human society about how to respond to possibilities that
Maybe
exceed
later.
traditional frameworks for understanding reality. Do we embrace uncertainty and prepare for radical change? Or do we maintain stability by clinging to familiar assumptions until forced to abandon them?
Good work,
The answer
Spider-Man.
might depend on what
Did you
AI
learn
reveals
anything
during the
about his
close approach to the
motive?
sun. In just a
I
few weeks,
tried.
we'll have the most
He's not very
definitive data
talkative.
yet about whether this
Plus,
mysterious
I
visitor
think
from
he hates
interstellar
me.
space is a natural
You have
object
that
or
effect
something
on a
far
lot
more
of
extraordinary.
people.
The
But you
observations
love
during
me,
solar
right,
conjunction
Yuri?
will either vindicate the
I
skeptics who
tolerate
insist on
you.
natural explanation, or confirm the fears of those who believe they're being
Wow.
watched by intelligence.
That
and make
might
our
be
great
the
views look
nicest
like
thing you've ever
crude
said to
trashing
me.
But regardless of what we discover about 3i Atlas specifically, the object has already transformed human consciousness in ways that can't be reversed. We crossed the threshold in our species development.
Looks
moving
like
from
I got
a
some
state of
free
cosmic
time.
to one of cosmic
Maybe
awareness.
now's a good time to look
We
into
now
that
know that
mask.
interstellar visitors are possible, that advanced
Oh,
alien
it's
technology
MJ.
might be indistinguishable from natural phenomena, and that our behavior might be significantly
Hey,
intelligent
MJ.
far beyond our own.
You're up late.
This knowledge changes everything.
Just
Even
catching
if
up
3i
on the
Atlas proves to be
news.
nothing more than an unusual
Looks like
interest
you
in
had quite an
cosmos, we
adventure
can never
with
again
Shocker
assume that we're
tonight.
unobserved, unmonitored, or
Yeah,
insignificant in cosmic
he was
terms.
unusually
We've been forced to
combative.
confront the possibility that every human
Anyway,
action,
thanks again
every
for
social
dinner.
decision, every
What do I owe
technological
you?
development might be watched and
How about a
evaluated
favor?
by minds that could determine our
Still have
species'
that
ultimate
mask
fate.
from the gallery?
The weight of
Yeah.
that responsibility
I'm
is
actually on
transforming
my
human
way to
culture
the
in
Feast
subtle but
Center
profound
now
ways.
to ask Martin Lee
We're
about
becoming
it.
more self-conscious, more
Martin
strategic,
Lee?
more
Why?
aware of how our behavior might appear
He
to
has a
hypothetical
degree in
observers who judge us by
almost
standards we can't even
morning.
imagine.
Mr.
We're
Lee will
developing
be
new
here
forms of
soon.
ethics and morality based not just
I
on
can
human
use a
welfare,
snack.
but on cosmic citizenship and the responsibilities that come with being part of a universe that might be full of intelligence. Whether this transformation makes us more worthy of survival and contact remains to be seen, but it's already making us more human in the deepest sense, more aware of our place in the vast cosmos, and more committed to becoming worthy of the universe we inhabit. The test continues, and the results will echo through eternity. Now we find ourselves in the final countdown, quite literally, as
Mr.
October
Lee's
approaches,
usually in his
and 3i
office
Atlas
now.
hurtles toward its date with solar destiny.
Coffee's terrible.
The astronomical community is holding its collective breath, instruments trained on a patch of sky that might contain the most significant discovery in human history. But here's what makes this moment truly extraordinary. We're not just passive observers anymore. We're participants in what might be the universe's most elaborate intelligence test.
¿Sigues pagando por roaming o contando cada giga para no quedarte sin datos?
The recent observations have revealed something that's sending chills down the spines of even the most hardened skeptics. 3i Atlas has begun exhibiting what can only be described as predictive behavior. Its rotation rate is changing in ways that optimize solar energy absorption while minimizing structural stress. Its outgassing patterns are following mathematical models so precisely that they appear engineered rather than natural. Most unsettling of all, its trajectory adjustments seem to anticipate gravitational influences before encountering them. Think about what that means. Natural objects don't predict. They don't optimize. They don't demonstrate awareness of future conditions. Yet 3i Atlas is behaving like something that understands not just where it is, but where it's going and what it needs to do to get there safely. It's exhibiting what systems analysts would recognize as forward-looking artificial intelligence. The implications are staggering. We're potentially watching a machine that's been traveling through interstellar space for millions of years, maintaining not just structural integrity, but cognitive function across distances and timescales that dwarf human comprehension. The computational requirements alone would require technologies that manipulate matter and energy in ways we've never conceived possible. But perhaps even more disturbing is what this suggests about the intelligence that created it. Any civilization capable of building self-aware internal probes would have solved
No quedó listo,
Mr.
Doc.
Lee. I have a friend, Mary Jane. She's a reporter. She's doing a story on art imparts, and she found this
materials that
piece.
can maintain complex functions. while
She
enduring
wanted an
temperatures that
expert
vaporize
opinion on
things
it,
themselves.
and
We're not
I
just
know
looking
you
at
have a
advanced technology.
degree.
And
We're
this
looking at
might be
technology
the
that approaches
first
the theoretical
time I
limits of what
actually
physics
get to
allows.
use
The
it.
scientific community's response to these latest
See what you
observations
have.
has been fascinating to watch. The same researchers who dismissed Loeb's hypothesis as nonsense on stilts
Interesting.
are now quietly developing alternative explanations that become more elaborate and improbable
Where did she
with
find
each
it?
new data point.
I'm
Ice sublimation
not
patterns
sure.
that spontaneously organize themselves into
What is it?
mathematical perfection.
Replica of an
Gravitational
antique
field
Chinese
interactions
opera mask.
that create precisely the trajectory
Haven't seen that
modifications
in
we're observing.
years.
Natural processes that somehow produce results indistinguishable from
This
intelligent
symbol
design.
here
The
roughly
intellectual contortions
translates
required to maintain these
demon.
explanations are becoming increasingly apparent even to casual observers. It's like watching someone insist
Una
on
lección,
a
Jairo.
sequence of random
Well,
rhythms
my
while the
father
orchestra continues
Una
playing.
puta
ghost
lección.
stories with that
At
mask
some
and
point,
symbol
the
in it
simplest
when I was
explanation
young.
becomes not just more likely, but more honest. Yet the
Scared the
resistance
hell out
persists,
of me.
and it's revealing something important about how human institutions handle paradigm-shifting discoveries. The scientific
Como de
establishment
los
has invested so
coreanos.
much credibility in the assumption that we're alone, that acknowledging alien
Una
presence
lección,
is the
Jairo.
authority of every expert who insisted such things were impossible.
Una puta
It points to
lección.
institutional self-preservation disguised as scientific skepticism. This dynamic is
Mary
creating a
Jane might
dangerous
want to find a
situation.
different story.
While official science maintains
Do
its
you think
skeptical
she's in
stance,
trouble?
intelligence agencies and military organizations are quietly preparing for scenarios that assume 3i Atlas is exactly what it appears to be. The disconnect between public statement and private
Why
preparation
take the
is becoming
risk?
increasingly obvious to anyone paying attention to policy changes and resource allocation. Consider what's happening behind closed doors.
Como de los coreanos, franceses.
Not just 3i Atlas, but the entire population of near-Earth objects. Deep space communication arrays are being upgraded with capabilities that far exceed anything needed for conventional science.
The symbol inside the mask.
Una
was
lección,
demon.
Jairo, una puta
It
lección.
really spooked Mr. Lee. Never seen him like that. He even said you should drop the story.
Fat chance. Do you think Mr. Lee knows more than he's letting on?
Our response to its
No,
presence
I
is
think he
providing
just had
real-time
a
data about
weird
human strategic
flashback
thinking,
or something.
technological capabilities,
I know his
and
childhood was
institutional
pretty
decision-making
traumatic.
processes. We're not just being
Yeah,
observed.
that makes
We're being
sense.
comprehensively analyzed.
Demons humans,
The
huh?
analysis probably extends
Catchy
far beyond
name.
our immediate response to the probe
Okay,
itself.
gotta get
Any
ready.
intelligence
See you
sophisticated enough to
soon.
conduct interstellar reconnaissance would be interested in broader patterns of human behavior.
Well,
How
that
we
went
handle
about
global
as well
challenges
as I
like
could
climate
have
change and
hoped.
pandemics. How we manage conflicts between competing ideologies and resource claims. How we balance individual freedom with collective survival. These aren't separate issues. They're all data points in a comprehensive assessment of human civilization. From that perspective, the past few years of human history might look like a species-wide stress test. We've been confronted with challenges that require international and the subordination of immediate cooperation, long-term thinking interest to collective welfare. Our performance has been mixed at best, and that performance is being documented by intelligence we can't even detect. The timing isn't coincidental. We're living through what historians might someday call the Great Filter Period, the moment when a species either transcends its limitations or destroys itself trying.
Got some time to
Most
kill before
civilizations
Doc needs me at the lab. Let's do a little
They develop the power to
tidy work
reshape their
out in the
environment
city.
faster than they develop the wisdom to use that power responsibly. They create weapons before they create peace. They master energy before they master themselves. The few species that survive this period share certain characteristics. They develop global governance systems that can manage planetary scale challenges. They subordinate tribal loyalties to species-wide interests. They balance technological progress with social stability and environmental sustainability. Most importantly, they recognize their limitations and seek guidance from more advanced civilizations when such guidance becomes available. This last point might be the most crucial test of all. How does a species react when confronted with evidence of superior intelligence? Do they respond with fear and aggression, viewing alien presence as a threat to be eliminated? Do they retreat into denial, refusing to acknowledge evidence that challenges their cosmic significance? Or do they respond with curiosity and humility, recognizing an opportunity to learn from intelligence that has already solved the problems they're struggling with? Our collective response to 3i Atlas is providing answers to these questions in real time. The polarization between those who see aliens everywhere and those who refuse to see them anywhere might itself be significant. Advanced civilizations would probably be most interested in the minority who can evaluate evidence objectively, neither jumping to conclusions nor rejecting possibilities based on preconceptions. This rational minority might be humanity's best hope for successful contact. If contact is indeed what we're approaching. They're the ones developing protocols for potential communication, studying linguistics and interspecies psychology, thinking seriously about how to represent human interests in negotiations with superior intelligence. They're preparing for a future that most of humanity can't even imagine, but they're also operating under constraints that make their task almost impossibly difficult. How do you negotiate with intelligence that might view your entire species as we view bacteria? How do you demonstrate value to minds that have had millions of years to develop technologies and perspectives that dwarf human achievements? How do you prove that humanity deserves to survive when the evidence suggests that most species in our position don't? The answer might lie not in what we can offer alien civilizations, but in what we represent. Every species that survives to become spacefaring carries unique perspectives and capabilities that emerge from their specific evolutionary history. Humans might offer something that even billion-year-old civilizations find valuable. Fresh viewpoints on problems they've been working on for
It's
eons.
what she wants.
Our creativity, our
And you
emotional
know
capacity, our ability to find
Seem
meaning in chaos.
worried.
These might be rare qualities
Are you
in the
into
universe
something
where intelligence becomes
dangerous?
standardized through millions of
Oh,
years of
it's just a
technological
story
optimization.
Mary Jane's
We might be like
investigating.
jazz musicians at universal
Don't
classical
worry,
orchestras,
I'll make sure she's
bringing
careful.
equalization and spontaneity to
Please
lines that
tell
have
me
a
you two are back
But that
together.
value only matters if we
We're
survive long enough
talking
to develop.
again.
The next few
Baby
weeks will
steps.
determine whether we get that opportunity.
I hope I didn't
As
upset
3i
Mr.
Atlas
Lee.
approaches its closest point to the sun,
He
every
seems
aspect of its
concerned. I was actually touched by how concerned. I knew he liked you. He admires how dedicated you are to helping others.
behavior will be scrutinized for
I
signs of
think
artificial
you
intelligence that may
reminded him
now
of
reflect like
himself
its
when
natural
he was
disguise.
younger.
The solar junction period will be the moment of truth.
So
Hidden behind the sun
smart.
from Earth's perspective,
Well, the
3i
admiration
Atlas
is
will be free to drop its
mutual.
camouflage before
You got a
whatever new
good boss,
position
man.
requires. If it emerges from conjunction
Tell
of
him
different
you said
trajectories
so.
with modified
Love,
characteristics
Peter.
or accompanied by previously undetected objects, it will provide the definitive proof that Loeb's hypothesis was correct all along. The psychological preparation for that moment is proving almost as challenging as the technical preparation. How do you mentally ready yourself for confirmation that everything you thought you knew about humanity's place in the universe is wrong? How do you prepare for the possibility that first contact might come not as a greeting, but as a judgment? Mental health professionals are working overtime to help people cope with what they're calling ontological shock. The disorientation that comes from having your fundamental assumptions about reality challenged. The symptoms range from mild
Hello?
anxiety to complete psychological breakdown, and traditional
Dr.
therapeutic approaches
Octavius.
are proving inadequate for addressing fears that might be entirely rational. The social support systems that help communities cope with crisis are being
Una
stretched to
lección,
their
Jairo,
breaking
una
points.
puta
Religious
lección.
institutions are struggling to
Oh,
integrate
hey,
alien
what's up?
intelligence into theological
Lance
framework.
Corporal
Education
Texidor is
systems
here
are
for a
grappling with
fitting.
curriculum that might become
I
obsolete
totally
overnight.
forgot. I
Economic
mean,
struggles
I
dealing with
didn't
investment
forget.
patterns
I
driven by
just,
speculation about technologies that
I'll
might
be
not
there soon.
exist. Yet somehow, humanity is adapting.
This
We're
tardiness
developing
is
new forms
starting
of
to become
consciousness,
a pattern.
new ways of thinking about intelligence and civilization that extend
You're
far beyond
better
terrestrial
than this.
limitations. We're becoming a species that can contemplate its place in a universe full of minds vastly more
I
capable
lose
than our
track
own.
of time.
We're growing up, cosmically speaking, whether we're ready for it or not. Transformation isn't complete, and it isn't uniform. Large portions of humanity remain focused on terrestrial concerns, unaware of or unwilling to acknowledge the cosmic drama unfolding above their heads. But a growing minority is embracing what might be called post-terrestrial consciousness, a way of thinking that assumes alien intelligence is not just possible but probable, not just
All
distant
units
but present.
advised,
This emerging
break-in
consciousness
reported
is
in
creating new
progress.
forms of human behavior and social
Please
organization.
mobilize toward Flatiron.
Research communities
Over.
dedicated to xenological studies, international protocols for potential contact scenarios, educational programs that prepare students for a universe that includes non-human intelligence, economic strategies that account for potential technological disruption from alien contact. The changes are subtle but profound, like the early stages of a phase transition in physics. The old patterns of human behavior and thought are still dominant, but new patterns are emerging that could reshape civilization as fundamentally as the agricultural or industrial revolution. The catalyst for this transformation isn't just 3i Atlas itself, but what it represents, the end of human cosmic isolation. Even if this particular object proves to be natural, it has demonstrated that interstellar visitors are possible, detectable, and worthy of serious scientific investigation. We've crossed a threshold in human awareness from which there's no return. Future generations will look back on this period as the moment when humanity began to take seriously the possibility that we're not alone. They'll study our response to 3i Atlas the way we study the response to Galileo's telescopic observations or Darwin's evolutionary theories. They'll ask whether we rose to meet the challenge of cosmic citizenship, or whether we retreated into the comfortable illusion of terrestrial isolation. The answer isn't determined yet. We still have choices to make, responses to calibrate, consciousness
for
Every
dying.
unobserved, unmonitored, or cosmically insignificant, we've been forced to confront the possibility that intelligence is common in the universe, that it takes forms we've never imagined, and that our behavior might matter on scales we're only beginning to comprehend. Whether that realization terrifies or inspires us might be the most important test of all, because in a universe potentially full of intelligence, what matters most isn't how smart we are, but how wise we become. And wisdom, unlike intelligence, can't be programmed or engineered. It can only be earned through experience, reflection, and the courage to grow beyond our current limitations. The universe is watching and waiting, and perhaps hoping that we prove worthy of the cosmos we
I
inhabit.
wish I could do something
The
to
observation
help
data streaming in
Doc.
from telescopes around the globe is painting a
Call
picture that
Harry.
grows more extraordinary.
Ask him to talk to his dad.
Amateur astronomers in backyard observatories are capturing images that
Norman
professional
never
institutions
listened to
struggled to
Harry.
explain just days ago. The
He tried
democratization
to
of this
kill
discovery
funding
is
for his
creating something
research
unprecedented in
stations.
scientific history.
Hey,
Real-time peer review by
one of
thousands
those
of independent
stations is
observers
nearby.
who are adding pieces to a puzzle that traditional
See how they're doing while
astronomy
Harry's in
seems
Europe.
What's emerging from this distributed analysis is a pattern of behavior so
Must be some way to help
consistent, so
Doc.
purposeful,
I'll
that even the
think of
most dedicated
something.
skeptics are beginning to question their assumptions. 3. iAtlas isn't just following the laws of physics, it's optimizing. Every maneuver, every adjustment, every
Quedó
response to
listo,
some
Doc.
heat appears calculated to achieve maximum efficiency with minimum detectability. It's like watching a master chess player who's thinking dozens of moves ahead while pretending to play randomly. The psychological impact and the researchers involved is becoming increasingly apparent. These are people who spend their careers studying objects that follow predictable patterns, that behave according to well-understood principles of celestial mechanics. Now they're confronting something that appears to be making decisions, adapting strategies, responding to conditions in ways that natural objects simply don't do. The cognitive dissonance is creating what some are calling an epistemic crisis, a fundamental challenge to the frameworks we use to understand reality. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect isn't what 3i Atlas is doing. What it isn't doing. There are no obvious technological signatures, no energy emissions that scream artificial origin, no structural features that look manufactured. If this object is indeed the probe from an advanced civilization, its camouflage is so perfect that it reveals
Harry left
capability
me a
that
message
almost
about
ambitious
these
engineering
before he
projects.
left for you.
We're potentially looking at technology that's indistinguishable from natural phenomena until we
Hey, I
examine
need
the
a
physical
favor.
possibility of its behavior.
My
This
mom's
raises
pet
profound
project
questions
was
about what we might
research
do
stations
in
that can
improving
benefit the
observation
public. Now, I launched them, but now that I'm away, Oscorp's gonna shut them down unless they prove their value. I was hoping you could watch them. I left details in each one. Thanks, man. As long as they're here, it's like a part of my mom is too.
We might be living
Well, it's not going to pay the bills, but
actually exist at the scale
it sounds like it means a lot
Consider
to
the
him.
philosophical ramifications.
I'll do what I
Human
can to
civilization
help.
has been built on the assumption that we can distinguish between things that emerge naturally and things that are created by intelligence. Our legal systems, our economic structures, our scientific methodologies all depend on the ability to identify agency and intention behind observed phenomena. But if advanced intelligence can create artifacts that appear completely natural, then that fundamental assumption crumbles. The economic implications alone are staggering. Markets that depend on scarcity of resources might become irrelevant if intelligence can manipulate matter and energy at scales we can't comprehend. Technologies that we consider cutting edge might be rendered obsolete overnight if contact leads to knowledge transfer from civilizations that have had millions of years to solve engineering problems. The entire structure of human economic activity might need fundamental revision, yet somehow daily life continues. People wake up, go to work, raise families, pursue dreams, as if the universe has the potential to reveal itself to be far stranger and more populated than we ever imagined.
Spider-Man,
The
Shocker
disconnect between the
has
cosmic
escaped.
significance of what we
Now
might be
he's
witnessing
robbing a
and the
bank
mundane
on
concerns
East
of ordinary human
31st.
existence is creating its own form of surreal tension. This disconnect might itself be significant to alien observers. How does a species maintain social cohesion and individual purpose when confronted with evidence of its cosmic insignificance?
The reason we made the T360 boxing glove was to design the best all-around glove.
Do we
I thought he was
adapt
behind bars.
He was.
Or do we retreat
But
into
one of
local
the guards
concerns
just
that
walked up to his cell
The
and
answer might
released
determine whether
him,
we're viewed as
then
a
gave
species
him
capable
his
of growth
suit
or one
back.
that's fundamentally limited
I
by its
knew
evolutionary
Shocker was
technology.
working
Religious
for
beliefs are
someone.
grappling with questions that their theological
What did you get
frameworks
out
are
of
never
it?
designed to address. If intelligence exists that predates human civilization by billions of years, what does that say about divine creation and human specialness? Some faiths are adapting by incorporating
Wish I
alien
could
intelligence
ask
to
him,
cosmic
but he's
creation.
dead.
Others are doubling
Whoever
down on
made him
human
release
beings,
Shocker
insisting on
didn't want
consciousness
any
solve
loose
properties that
ends.
only biological evolution can produce. The theological
Looking at
debates
the
are becoming as
security
intense as the
footage, the
scientific
guard
ones.
was in some
Educational
kind of
institutions face equally
trance.
challenging questions.
And
How
it
do you
might
prepare
have been the
students for careers
lighting,
in a
but
world
it
that might
looked
be
like his
fundamentally
eyes
transformed
were
by alien
glowing.
contact?
Well,
What knowledge
that's
and skills
creepy.
remain relevant when human
Okay,
technology
I'll
might be
see
about
what
to
I can
encounter
get out of
abilities
Shocker when
that
I get
exceed
to
our
the
wildest
bank.
theoretical projections? Some schools are beginning to incorporate cosmic citizenship into their curricula, teaching students to think beyond terrestrial limitations. Others are maintaining traditional approaches, arguing that speculation about alien contact is premature and potentially harmful to student development.
Attention units.
The generational divide in
Reports
responses
of a
is becoming
narcotics sale
increasingly
in
evident.
progress.
Young people who've grown up in science fiction,
Reported
video
location
games, and
in
digital
Murray
technologies
Hill.
seem more psychologically prepared for the possibility of non-human intelligence. They're embracing the potential for radical change with excitement rather than fear. Older generations, particularly those in positions of authority and influence, appear more invested in maintaining familiar paradigms and social structures. This age-related difference in cosmic readiness might be evolutionarily significant. Throughout human history, major cultural and technological transitions have been driven by younger generations who are less psychologically invested in existing systems. The current situation might be creating the conditions for the most rapid and comprehensive cultural evolution in human history, driven by young minds that can adapt to cosmic realities
Here,
that exceed the
I'm
imaginative
looking at
capacity
the
of their elders.
demons. Sounds like
The
they
military
quietly
implications are the
established
subject
a
of
power
intense
base in
classified
a
discussion
vacuum
with
left
defense
by
establishments around the
Fisk.
world.
A
If
vacuum
3i
I
Atlas
created
represents
by
cosmic
putting
technology
Fisk
from
away.
civilization capable of interstellar
Jameson
travel,
was
then
right.
human military capabilities
Demons are my
essentially irrelevant.
fault.
Our most advanced
What are we
weapon
supposed to
systems
do,
will be
let
like stone
Fisk keep
tools compared to technologies that
godfathering?
can manipulate matter and energy
Are you
across cosmic
okay?
scales. The
You
question
sound
becomes
even
not how to
mopeier
defend
than
against such
usual.
capabilities, but how
I
to
think I
demonstrate that
might
we're
have
not
just
threatening
lost
to
my
eliminate
job.
it. This
The
realization
city,
is driving fundamental
Norman
reassessment of national
actually
security
pulled
doctrine
our
and
funding.
international relations. If humanity faces potential conflict with superior intelligence,
sorry.
then terrestrial conflicts
If
become not
Harry
just
were
pointless,
here, he could
but
talk some
potentially
sense into
suicidal.
his dad.
Any civilization monitoring human
We'll
development
find another
would presumably be
source.
concerned
Your
about
work's too
to waste
important.
resources on internal warfare
Thanks, MJ.
rather than focusing on the
Talk
challenges
to you
of cosmic
soon.
citizenship. Our continued investment in military competition might be marking us for elimination rather than contact. The intelligence agency is tasked with analyzing potential alien activities, face unprecedented challenges. How do you gather information about intelligence that might be monitoring your every move? How do you develop countermeasures against technology that operates on principles you don't understand? How do you protect national interests when relevant decisions might be made by minds that view
Hey, I'm
human
no
nations,
lawyer,
the way we
but
view and colonies?
I'm pretty sure that's a parole violation.
They're developing new areas of framework that account for the possibilities available by capabilities of war human technology. They're trying to reverse engineer alien intentions.
Oops, I guess we're stuck in here for a while. Want to play 20 questions? No? How about we stop Okay, face punch it in.
The challenge is compounded by the fact that their adversaries, if they exist, have had potentially
No
millions of
quedó
years
listo,
to
Doc.
penetrate them. Any intelligence sophisticated enough to conduct interstellar reconnaissance
Are all
would have
digital
mapped
now,
deception,
aren't they?
misdirection, and information manipulation on scales that human intelligence agencies can barely comprehend. We might be trying to outwit minds that have been studying human psychology since before our species developed language. Yet the attempt must be made. The stakes include survival of human civilization.
Science.
If 3i Atlas represents hostile reconnaissance, then our response
Remember
to the
our
next few
first
weeks might determine whether humanity survives the next century.
young and
If it
stupid.
represents peaceful
No
scientific
quedó listo,
isolation,
Doc.
then our response might determine whether we're invited to join a galactic community of intelligent species, or left to develop in isolation,
You
until we
just
either transcend our limitation or destroy ourselves. The weight of that responsibility is creating unprecedented stress on decisions at every level of human society.
are there any
Government leaders are making choices that could affect the future of our society based on incomplete information
And
about
who
possibilities
determines
that
the
bear
ideal ratio of
military commanders are
talking
developing
versus not
contingency plans
talking?
for scenarios that exceed the scope of any historical
How would you
precedent.
measure?
Scientists are
Words per
conducting research
minute,
that might be dramatic
syllables
final
per
examination
second?
before graduation
Or
to
is it
cosmic
more
systems
about how
or
many
extinction.
words
Pressure
one
is
uses? Now I can do some real
researchers
damage.
who first recognized the significance of 3i Atlas and its implications for human understanding of our place in the
doing
universe.
this, Herman?
They're simultaneously trying to conduct objective scientific investigation while knowing that their conclusions might trigger social and economic upheaval on a scale that dwarfs any previous human crisis. The responsibility of
Coming
potentially
your
announcing
way.
first contact with alien intelligence is not something that any
Gonna
intelligence
try
or
something
institution
else.
is prepared to handle. This burden of cosmic significance is changing how these researchers approach their work. They're not just analyzing data anymore. They're crafting humanity's first impressions of the mind that might determine our future sector. Every paper they publish, every statement they make, every conclusion they reach might be scrutinized by intelligence teams that view human scientific methodology the way we do it. The performance anxiety alone is enough to just enough to make the situation desperate. Meanwhile, the clock
No
continues
quedó listo, Doc.
when 3i Atlas will disappear behind the sun from Earth's perspective and potentially reveal its true nature. The anticipation is building to levels that threaten to overwhelm rational analysis. Some researchers are so invested in confirming the artificial hypothesis that they're in danger of seeing patterns that don't exist. Others are so committed to natural explanations that they might miss evidence that contradicts their preconceptions. The ideal would be a community of scientists capable of following evidence wherever it leads, regardless of personal investment or institutional pressure. But that ideal becomes difficult to maintain when the evidence might point toward conclusions that fundamentally challenge everything. We thought we knew about intelligence, technology, and our place in the cosmos. We're asking human minds to remain objective about discoveries that exceed the scope of human activity. Perhaps that's exactly the test. Advanced civilizations will presumably be most interested in species that can maintain a rational analysis, but when confronted with evidence that challenges their most fundamental assumptions about reality,
People don't use
they would want to know
banks
whether we
anymore.
can grow beyond our evolutionary limitations. To become
You're
the kind of
lucky you
intelligence
found
that contributes
actual
to rather than
cash.
detracts from cosmic civilization.
Really want to rob
The
banks?
answer isn't determined yet. We still have choices to make about how we respond to possibilities
Try day
that exceed
trading.
our previous understanding
It's all
of
the
what's
rage.
possible. We can retreat into denial and maintain comfortable illusions about our cosmic isolation. We can panic and respond with fear-driven aggression that leads us to a lack of stability. Or we can rise to meet the challenge with the kind of rational curiosity and humble wisdom that advanced intelligence might respect.
Tell
The
me
next
who
few
you're
weeks
working
will reveal
for.
which path
I
humanity
can
chooses.
help you cut a deal.
As 3i Atlas approaches its closest point to the sun, potentially drops its camouflage to reveal the abilities that discern our deepest fears and wildest hopes. We'll discover whether we're ready for the universe we actually inhabit, rather than the one we imagine we live in.
This one's gonna hurt.
The test continues, and the universe watches, and perhaps hopes that we prove worthy of the cosmic conversation that might be about to begin.
Freaking me out,
But here's what
Herman.
makes this moment
It's
truly
not like you
extraordinary.
to be afraid
We're
of
not just waiting
people.
passively for 3i Atlas to reveal its secrets. We're actively participating in one of the most sophisticated intelligence operations in galactic history.
Wait,
Every
did you
telescope
say
we point at
math?
objects, every spectrum we analyze, every trajectory calculation we perform might be providing data about human technological capabilities and analytical methods defined as we're evaluating our readiness.
What do they want the
The
money
recursive
for?
nature of this observation scenario creates layers of meaning that human consciousness struggles to process. We're studying something that might be studying us while we study. Our methods of investigation might themselves be the subject of investigation. The questions we ask about 3i Atlas might reveal more about human psychology and scientific methodology than the answers we receive reveal about the object's true nature. This Hall of Mirrors effect is generating what philosophers call an epistemic first ghost, a deeply uncertainty about what potential outcome knows. The subject of investigation might be conducting its own investigation of what their capabilities. All boundaries between observer and observed, become meaningless and blurred. Yet somehow, research continues. Data accumulate. Patterns
Okay,
emerge.
last chance
And
to
those
give
patterns
up.
are becoming
This time I really mean it.
3i Atlas displays behavior that suggests not just intelligence, but intelligence that understands human psychology well enough to conduct psychological experiments
You
on
asked
its
nicely.
timing of its revelations, the escalation of anomalous behavior, the careful balance between concealment and disclosure, all suggest a mind that knows exactly how much strangeness
Now
human
is your
consciousness can
last chance.
it might be subject to the universe's most elaborate behavioral study, input to cosmic psychology experiment designed to test how emerging civilizations
Quedó
respond
listo,
to
Doc.
superior intelligence.
Sorry,
It should be
Herman.
terrifying, but it's also comforting. If we're being studied rather than purely observed, it suggests that our behavior matters to someone, that our choices have consequences that extend
this
beyond the
on
boundaries of our
yourself.
small planet. The implications
Literally.
ripple through every aspect of human existence, from the most mundane daily decisions to the grandest questions of meaning and purpose. If we're being evaluated by intelligence that could determine our species'
No
future,
quedó
then
listo,
everything
Doc.
we do becomes cosmically significant. The way we treat each other, priorities we choose, the values we embody, all become data points in the settings that might determine whether humanity deserves to survive and prosper in a universe full of intelligence far more capable than our own. This realization is transforming human consciousness in ways that might go universal. We're developing what could be called cosmic self-awareness, an understanding of ourselves as observed beings whose behavior has significance beyond terrestrial concerns. We're becoming a species that considers how its actions appear to hypothetical observers, judges by standards we can only imagine.
Good work.
The
We
transformation
have a
isn't
special
complete,
cell
and it
waiting
isn't
for him
uniform
at the
across human
rack.
populations.
We'll make
But it's
sure he
happening.
stays
Quietly,
behind bars
persistently.
this time.
As more people grapple with the
Also,
implications of living in a
I'm
universe
pretty
that
sure
might
he
be
was
far more
working for
populated,
the
far
Demon
more
Gang.
watchful than we ever dared to believe.
Demon Gang?
We're growing up cosmically speaking, whether
Sounds
we're ready
like
for
a
it or
Daily
not.
Bugle
And perhaps, just
headline.
perhaps, the growth is exactly what
Hey,
3i Atlas was sent to measure.
the
The
Bugle
approaching
is a
solar conjunction
perfectly
represents
fine
more than
news
just an astronomical event.
organization.
It's become a
Not
countdown
sure
to what
I'd
might
call
be
it
humanity's graduation
news.
exam, administered by minds
Well,
that can
I've
barely
heard they have
comprehend,
some really
using
good
methods we're only beginning
reporters.
to recognize.
Anyway, have you had
As
any more
3i
reports
Atlas
on
prepares to slip
demon,
behind the sun's blazing disk,
guys with
disappearing from our
masks?
direct observation for those
Let
crucial
me
weeks
get
of late
back to you.
October, we find ourselves in the
By the
peculiar
way,
position of holding our breath
how
for an
much
object
of a
that might
mess
hold
did
its
you
breath
make
too,
inside that
waiting for the
bank?
perfect moment to reveal what
You
is true.
probably don't want to
The
know.
latest spectroscopic data has revealed something that's causing quiet panic in observatories around the world. The chemical signature of 3i Atlas' coma isn't just unusual, it's impossibly precise.
Cyclist
Natural
shocker took
sublimation
a while.
processes create a messy,
Time to catch
chaotic
up on
emission
what I've
pattern
been
that
missing
vary in
out in the
temperature,
city.
solar radiation, and rotational dynamics. But 3i Atlas is producing emission lines that match physical models with mathematical perfection, as if someone fed the textbook equations for cometary behavior into a cosmic 3D printer and manufactured an object that behaves exactly as predicted, down to the smallest spectral detail. This textball perfection is what intelligence analysts
Not
call
getting
a
much
tell,
coverage.
an unconscious behavior
I should
that
look
reveals
for
hidden
more
truth
towers to
despite attempts
activate.
at concealment. In poker, a tell might be a nervous twitch or a change in breathing pattern. In cosmic reconnaissance, a tell might be optimization that's too perfect, behavior that's too precisely calculated to emerge from the random chaos of natural processes. I, Atlas, might be revealing its artificial nature through the very sophistication of its camouflage. But here's where the story takes an even stranger turn. Because the object's behavior suggests awareness that we're looking for exactly these kinds of tells. Recent observations show subtle variations in the emission pattern, tiny deviations from mathematical perfection that appear designed to introduce just enough randomness to look natural without compromising the overall mission profile. We might be watching artificial intelligence adaptive camouflage in real time based on human observational capabilities and expectations. The implications are staggering. We're not just dealing with advanced technology. We're dealing with adaptive artificial intelligence that can modify its behavior based on the same source. And this source, he claims, is a super intelligence that exists in another dimension, and this dimension kind of being the super spectrum, and it is obviously outside of the electromagnetic spectrum. Pull through for us. Aliens just aren't advanced is a fairly simple theory, I think, that says that aliens do exist somewhere out there, but they're just not advanced enough to travel to Earth. And this obviously would go against all of the alien and UFO sightings that have been seen or cited on Earth, but I think personally it can go hand in hand with them. Like, if there's questions about why we don't see aliens all over the universe, why is it so empty? And this is one theory that looks to answer that question, and that is that yes, life does exist out there. Aliens do exist, but maybe they are the equivalent of like rats or squirrels or elephants, and so we can't really detect them from super far away, as they're not traveling space, they're not setting up satellites or sending out radio signals. But that doesn't mean that all alien races are just simple beings. It could be that one or two are super advanced, and we have seen them here on Earth, and that the rest of them, the ones that we should be seeing everywhere out in space, are just simple forms of life. And I don't think that theory is unlikely in the least. Tier 4, the Filiberto Cardenas abduction. So this occurred in 1979 Miami, when a man, one Filiberto Cardenas, was driving along in a car with some of his friends and family, when all of a sudden the car
¿No quedó lista, Doc? No quedó listo, Doc. No quedó listo, Doc.
Stalled, the engine broke, and they had to pull over. And when they pulled, in this video, we will be exploring a ton of all of the best UFO and alien-related topics, from encounters and sightings, both new. In this video, we will be exploring a ton of all of the best UFO and alien-related topics, from
No quedó
encounters and
listo,
sightings,
Doc.
both new and both well-known and insanely toxic.
Doc left a message.
Peter, I might have been a bit hasty advising you to find a
No
different
quedó listo,
channel.
Doc.
I have
This iceberg itself is custom made with over 190 entries, and the rule stuff that I've gathered and collected and researched from the best alien and UFO icebergs that I can find. An absolutely huge shout out to Emelos 260 or Emelos, but I think it's Emelos. He made an incredible iceberg that formed kind of like the base for this one, and he